I woke up in a hospital bed holding my newborn daughter, checked my phone, and watched my husband announce his promotion to CEO using MY software. The same day, he served me divorce papers. Girl, let me tell you how I went from that hospital room to building an empire that left him begging on the streets. My name is Keisha Martinez. I'm 35 years old, and 5 years ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I was a senior software engineer at Next Tech Solutions, one of Silicon Valley's fastest-growing companies. My husband Travis and I worked in the same department, same level, both climbing that corporate ladder together. We had this beautiful apartment in San Jose. We'd go to brunch on Sundays, talk about our future kids, plan our dream vacation to Bali. Life felt complete, you know? Travis was everything I thought I wanted in a man. Ambitious, smart, fine as hell with those dark eyes and that smile that made my knees weak even after 5 years of marriage. He'd bring me coffee in the morning, kiss my forehead before meetings, tell me I was brilliant after every presentation. When we found out I was pregnant, he cried. Actually cried, holding that positive test like it was made of gold. We're gonna be parents, baby, he whispered, pulling me close. Our kid is gonna have everything we didn't. I promise you that. I believed him. God, I really believed him. The pregnancy was rough, not gonna lie. Morning sickness that lasted all day, swollen ankles, back pain that made me want to scream. But I pushed through, because that's what we do, right? We push through. I worked up until I was 8 months, still debugging code, while my belly pressed against my desk, still attending meetings. While my daughter kicked my ribs like she was training for the UFC. When I finally went on maternity leave, I was exhausted but excited. 8 months pregnant, ready to slow down, prepare for our baby girl. Travis threw me this little goodbye party at the office, cupcakes, balloons, the whole thing. He stood up and gave this speech about how proud he was of me, how I was going to be an amazing mother, how he couldn't wait to meet our daughter. I remember Sarah from HR crying. Mike from development hugged me and said, "You're gonna crush motherhood just like you crush code." Even our department head, Janet, this cold, calculating woman who barely smiled, told me I'd done excellent work and they looked forward to having me back. If you've ever trusted someone completely, you know that feeling. That warm, safe feeling where you think nothing can touch you because you've got your person. Drop a comment if you know what I'm talking about. Because I want to know I'm not the only one who's been there. Here's where things get complicated. See, Next Tech had this massive problem. Our main product was bleeding users because of a critical flaw in our data processing system. Companies were leaving us for competitors. Our stock price was dropping, and the board was panicking. I'd been thinking about this problem for months, even brought it up in meetings, but nobody wanted to hear solutions from a pregnant woman who was about to go on leave. So I decided to solve it myself. During my maternity leave, and yes, I know this sounds crazy, I started working on a solution. Not because I had to, but because I loved what I did. While I was waiting for my daughter to arrive, between doctors' appointments and setting up the nursery, I'd sit at my home office with my laptop, working on this algorithm that could revolutionize our entire system. Travis would walk by sometimes, peek over my shoulder. "You're supposed to be resting, baby," he'd say, kissing the top of my head. "I am resting," I'd laugh. "This is fun for me. Besides, this could be huge for us. Imagine if I come back with a solution that saves the company millions. They'd have to promote at least one of us." He'd smile, rub my shoulders, tell me how brilliant I was. Sometimes he'd sit next to me, ask questions about the code, act interested. I thought he was being supportive. I thought he cared about my work. I was so stupid. By the time I was 38 weeks pregnant, I'd built a complete prototype. This wasn't just a patch or a quick fix. This was a comprehensive solution that would completely redesign how Next Tech processed data. It would make us faster, more secure, and more efficient than any competitor on the market. I'm talking about something that could generate hundreds of millions in revenue. I showed it to Travis one night. We were in bed, my belly so big I could barely see my feet, and I pulled up the Demo on my tablet. Look at this, I said, excitement making my voice shake. Look at the processing speed. Look at the security protocols. Travis, this could change everything. He watched the demo, his face unreadable. Then he smiled that smile I loved so much and said, "Baby, you're a genius. Absolute genius. The company is lucky to have you. We should present this together when I get back," I suggested. "You help me think through some of the logic. Problems, remember? We could both." "No," he interrupted gently. "This is your thing. You deserve all the credit. I'll support you from the sidelines. But this is your moment." God, I loved him so much in that moment. Have you ever had someone make you feel like your dreams mattered more than theirs? That feeling is dangerous, girl. So dangerous. I went into labor on a Tuesday morning, March 15th, 6:47 a.m. I remember because I was timing my contractions and thinking about how our daughter would share a birthday month with my grandmother. Travis was perfect throughout the whole thing. Held my hand, counted breaths with me, told me I was strong when I wanted to give up. After 14 hours of labor, our daughter came into the world screaming, 7 pounds, 4 ounces of pure perfection. They placed her on my chest, and I just broke down. Happy tears, exhausted tears, overwhelmed tears. I looked at Travis, and he was crying too, kissing my forehead, telling me how proud he was. "She's beautiful," he whispered. "Just like her mama. You did so good, Keisha. So good." We named her Zara. It means princess in Arabic, and that's exactly what she was, our little princess. The first night in the hospital was rough. Zara wouldn't stop crying. I was exhausted and sore, trying to figure out breastfeeding while feeling like my body had been hit by a truck. Travis stayed with us, sleeping in that uncomfortable hospital chair, helping with diaper changes, bringing me water and ice chips. Around 2 a.m., when Zara finally fell asleep, I watched him hold her. The way he looked at our daughter with such love and tenderness made me think we could handle anything life threw at us. I wish I could go back to that moment. I wish I could stay in that hospital room where my family was intact, and my heart was whole, and I didn't know what was coming. But Wednesday morning changed everything. Travis left early, around 6 a.m., said he needed to go home, shower, change clothes, grab some things for us. Kissed me, kissed Zara, told us he'd be back in a few hours. "Get some rest," he said at the door. "I'll bring you that good coffee from the place you like." I smiled, already half asleep. "Love you. Love you too, baby." Those were the last kind words my husband ever said to me. I woke up around 10 a.m. to Zara crying for feeding. My phone was buzzing like crazy on the bedside table. Texts, calls, notifications going off one after another. I figured it was family and friends checking in, congratulating us on the baby. I was half right. The first text I saw was from my girl Janelle, my best friend since college. She worked at a different tech company, but we stayed close, talked almost every day. The text just said, "Girl, call me right now." Then another one. "Keisha, I'm so sorry." My stomach dropped. Something was wrong. I called her back, my hands shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone. "Keisha," Janelle's voice cracked. "Oh my God, girl. Have you seen the company announcement?" "What announcement?" "I just had a baby yesterday." "I haven't." "Travis got promoted to CEO." I laughed. Confusion, not humor. "That doesn't make sense. Janet's the CEO. They're not restructuring for another 2 years." Janet stepped down this morning. Emergency board meeting last night. Travis presented some revolutionary software solution that's supposedly going to save the company hundreds of millions. They promoted him immediately. "Keisha, it's your software. The one you showed me last month. The exact same thing." The room started spinning. "That's not possible. I haven't submitted anything yet. I was waiting until after leave." "Check your email. Check the company portal. Check his LinkedIn." "Girl, I'm so sorry." With Zara sleeping against my chest, I opened my laptop with trembling hands. And there it was. There was my entire life collapsing in real time. Nextech's official announcement. We're thrilled to announce Travis Martinez as our new CEO, following his groundbreaking development of the next core processing system. My software, my code, my algorithms, my late nights and early mornings, my 8 months of work while I was pregnant and tired and swollen, all credited to Travis. The announcement had professional photos of him at the office, holding a presentation clicker, standing in front of screens showing MY work. The press release talked about his innovative thinking and dedication to excellence. They mention his wife, me, just gave birth, but he still came in to finalize this game-changing presentation. I couldn't breathe. Literally couldn't catch my breath. A nurse came in to check on me and found me hyperventilating, clutching my baby. Mrs. Martinez? Are you okay? Do you need? I need my husband, I gasped. I need Travis. Call him. Please. She called his number from my phone. It went straight to voicemail. She tried again. Voicemail. Maybe he's in a meeting, she said gently, not knowing she was absolutely right, just not the kind of meeting she thought. I kept scrolling, tears blurring my vision. His LinkedIn was updated. CEO at Nextech Solutions. The comments were full of congratulations. People I worked with, people we knew, all praising his brilliance. Not one person mentioned my name. Not one person questioned how he'd suddenly developed revolutionary software overnight. Then I saw it. The photo that destroyed me. Travis at some company celebration. Champagne glasses. Balloons. And next to him, closer than professional, was Catherine Whitmore, the COO, this cold, ambitious white woman who'd always looked at me like I was taking up space. Her hand was on his chest. His arm was around her waist. They were smiling at each other. Like, I knew that look. That was the look he used to give me. The caption, posted by Catherine herself, celebrating our brilliant new CEO and an exciting new chapter. Both professionally and personally, if any of you have ever had your whole world shattered in one moment, you know this feeling. Comment below if you've been there, because I need to know I survived something other people understand. I was still staring at that photo, trying to make sense of what I was seeing, when someone knocked on my hospital room door. Not the soft nurse knock. A sharp, professional knock. Mrs. Martinez? A man in a suit stepped in. Process server. I knew before he even spoke what was about to happen. I'm sorry to disturb you, he said, not sounding sorry at all. I need you to sign for these documents. He handed me a manila envelope. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold it. Inside, divorce papers. Filed yesterday, while I was in labor. While I was bringing our daughter into this world. He was with his lawyer, ending our marriage. The petition was brutal. Travis was requesting full custody of Zara, claiming I was mentally unstable and incapable of providing adequate care. He wanted the apartment, the cars, everything. He'd cleaned out our joint bank accounts. I saw the statements attached. $47,000. Gone. Transferred to an account in his name only. There was a restraining order request. He claimed I'd been erratic and threatening during my pregnancy. That I'd made violent statements about his coworkers. All lies. Complete lies designed to paint me as crazy. At the bottom, a note in his handwriting. Sign these and make this easy, Keisha. You'll get supervised visitation with Zara. Fight me, and I'll make sure you never see her again. I have the resources now. You don't. I sat there in that hospital bed, holding my newborn baby, staring at divorce papers from the man who'd promised to love me forever. The man who'd stolen my work, gotten himself promoted to CEO, started a relationship with another woman, drained our accounts, and was now trying to take away my daughter. The nurse who came and found me sobbing so hard I couldn't catch my breath, my baby wailing because she could feel my distress. Sweetie, what happened? She took Zara gently, trying to calm her. What's wrong? I couldn't even speak. I just handed her the papers. She read them, her face going from concerned to horrified. This was just delivered? Today? The day after you gave birth. I nodded. Where's your husband? Where's your family? My husband did this, I whispered. He's the one suing me. My family's in Atlanta. I don't know what to do. She set Zara down in the bassinet and sat next to me, taking my hands. Okay. First, we breathe. Second, you don't sign anything until you talk to a lawyer. Third, we're going to call someone for you. You have a friend? Someone who can come here? I called Janelle. She lived an hour away, but said she'd leave work immediately. Don't sign nothing, she told me. Don't talk to nobody. I'm coming. The next 2 hours were a blur of crying, feeding Zara, trying to process what was happening. I called Travis 17 times. Every single call went to voicemail. I texted him. How could you do this? How could you steal my work and leave me like this? No response. We have a daughter. She's 1 day old. Please talk to me. Nothing. I gave you 5 years. I gave you everything. Why? Silence. Around 3 p.m., my phone buzzed with an email from Nextech's HR department. The subject line: termination of employment. They were firing me. Effective immediately. The reason listed: violation of intellectual property agreements and attempted theft of company assets. I was being accused of trying to steal the work that I created. The work Travis had stolen from me was now being used as evidence that I was a thief. The email went on to say that legal action might be pursued, that I was to have no contact with any Nextech employees, that my access badges and company equipment would need to be returned immediately. I'd lost my husband, my job, my savings, and potentially my daughter, all in 24 hours. Have you ever felt like the ground just disappeared from under your feet? Like everything you thought was solid just turned out to be smoke? If you have, drop a comment. Sometimes just knowing we're not alone in these moments helps us survive them. When Janelle arrived, I was sitting in that hospital bed staring at nothing, Zara sleeping peacefully, like she had no idea her world was already broken. Oh, Keisha, Janelle breathed, pulling me into a hug. Girl, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I couldn't cry anymore. I'd run out of tears. I just felt empty. Tell me everything, she said, sitting next to me. From the beginning. So I did. I told her about the software I developed, how I'd shown it to Travis, his encouragement, his support. How he must have copied all my files while I was sleeping or in the shower. How he'd taken months of my work and presented it as his own. That's theft, Janelle said, her voice hard. Straight up theft. We can prove that. You have backups, right? Drafts with timestamps? Email chains. My stomach dropped. It was all on my home computer. The one Travis had access to. Where's that computer now? I didn't know. I hadn't been home since going into labor. For all I knew, Travis had taken it, destroyed it, wiped it clean. Okay, Janelle said, thinking. Okay, we can work with this. You need a lawyer, a good one. Do you have any money saved privately? Anything he doesn't know about? I shook my head. Everything was joint. I trusted him completely. Why would I hide money from my husband? Your family? Can they help? My parents were retired, living on fixed income in Atlanta. My brother was a teacher with 3 kids of his own. They'd help if they could, but none of us had lawyer money. Especially not the kind of lawyer I'd need to fight a CEO with company resources backing him. I can loan you some money, Janelle offered. It's not much, but I can't take your money, Jay. Girl, stop. What are friends for? She squeezed my hand. We're going to figure this out. You're brilliant, Keisha. You built something revolutionary. He can steal your code, but he can't steal your brain. You're going to land on your feet. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But sitting in that hospital room, jobless, penniless, with a newborn baby, and a husband who'd betrayed me in every possible way, landing on my feet seemed impossible. They discharged me the next day. Janelle drove me home. Home to the apartment I'd shared with Travis, where every corner held memories that now felt like lies. The apartment was exactly as I'd left it 2 days ago when I went into labor. My hospital bag still sat by the door. The nursery was fully set up, crib, changing table, that expensive glider chair we'd picked out together. Zara's name in wooden letters above the crib. But Travis was gone. His clothes, his laptop, his shoes, his toiletries, all gone. Like he'd never lived here. Like we'd never been a family. And my home office? Destroyed. My desktop computer? Gone. My external hard drives? Gone. My notebooks, where I'd sketched out ideas? Gone. Everything I'd need to prove that software was mine had vanished. He'd thought of everything. I stood in that empty office, holding Zara, and felt something shift inside me. The grief and shock started, hardening into something else. Something colder and sharper. Travis thought he'd won. He thought he'd taken everything from me and left me with nothing. He was wrong. He'd left me with the one thing he couldn't steal, the mind that created that software in the first place. And he'd made one critical mistake. He'd underestimated me. I'd spent 5 years watching him be ambitious, calculating, ruthless in his climb up that corporate ladder. I'd seen how he operated, how he networked, how he played the game. He thought he'd taught me nothing. He thought I was just the supportive wife, the behind-the-scenes helper, the woman who made him look good. But I'd learned everything, and now I was going to use it. I kissed Zara's forehead and whispered, "Mama's going to fix this, baby girl. I promise you, we're not going to just survive this, we're going to rise from it. Your daddy thinks he's won, but he has no idea what's coming." That night, while Zara slept in her bassinet next to my bed, I opened my old laptop, the personal one Travis didn't know about, and started planning. Not revenge. Something better. Resurrection. If this story is resonating with you, if you've ever had to rebuild from nothing, let me know in the comments. Your story might help someone else who's in their darkest moment right now. And if you're invested in seeing how I turn this nightmare into my biggest victory, hit that subscribe button because part 2 is where things get real interesting. So there I was, jobless, broke, with a newborn baby and a husband who'd stolen my entire life's work. Most people would have given up. But girl, I'm about to tell you how I turned my laptop, my last $200, and pure rage into a 6-figure income in 6 months. And honey, this is just the beginning. Those first 2 weeks after coming home from the hospital were the darkest days of my life. I'm talking can't get out of bed, can't stop crying, questioning everything, kind of dark. Every time I looked at Zara, I'd think about how Travis was supposed to be here helping with 3 a.m. feedings, changing diapers, supporting me. Instead, I was doing it all alone in an apartment that felt haunted by the ghost of my marriage. The bills started piling up immediately. Rent was due in 2 weeks, $2,800 that I didn't have. My phone kept buzzing with notifications from joint credit cards that Travis had maxed out before canceling them. Electric bill, water bill, insurance premiums, everything was in both our names, and suddenly I was responsible for all of it. With zero income, I had exactly $200 in my personal checking account. That's it. $200 between me and homelessness. Janelle came by every day that first week, bringing groceries, helping with Zara, just sitting with me when the panic attacks got too bad. One night, while she was washing bottles in my kitchen, I completely broke down. "Jay, I don't know how to do this," I sobbed. "I don't know how to be a single mom with no job, no money, no future. What if I can't take care of her? What if Travis was right, and I'm not capable?" "Stop." Janelle dried her hands and came to sit next to me on the couch. "Don't you ever let that man's lies get in your head. You hear me? You're one of the smartest people I know. You built software that's making Nextech millions right now. Travis didn't do that, you did. And you can do it again." "With what resources?" "I have nothing, Jay. No computer powerful enough, no development tools, no money for licensing. You have that old laptop. You have your brain. And you have me." She squeezed my hand. "We're going to Figure this out. But first, you need to take care of your mental health. Have you eaten today? I hadn't. I'd been so focused on feeding Zara that I'd forgotten to feed myself. That was my life for those first 2 weeks, surviving hour by hour, sometimes minute by minute, trying to keep my head above water, while everything around me was drowning. If any of y'all have been in that dark place where you can't see a way forward, where every day feels impossible, drop a comment. Because what I'm about to tell you is how I clawed my way out of that hole, and maybe it'll help someone who's in their own dark place right now. 3 weeks after Zara was born, I finally scraped together enough courage to meet with a lawyer. Janelle had connected me with her cousin Marcus, a family law attorney who agreed to give me a free consultation. I showed up to his office in downtown San Jose looking like a disaster. Spit up on my shoulder, hair in a messy bun, circles under my eyes, so dark I looked like I'd been in a fight. Zara was strapped to my chest in a baby carrier because I couldn't afford a sitter. Marcus was this older black man with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. He read through Travis's divorce petition, the restraining order request, the termination letter from Nextech, and the custody filing. His expression got darker with each page. "This is one of the most vindictive filings I've seen in 20 years of practice," he said finally. "Your husband isn't just trying to divorce you, he's trying to destroy you. Can he take Zara?" My voice cracked. "Can he actually get full custody?" "Not if I have anything to say about it." "But Keisha, I'm going to be real with you. This is going to be expensive. We're talking about fighting a man who now has significant financial resources and company lawyers backing him up. A case like this could cost $50,000 to $100,000 if it goes to trial." My heart sank. I barely had $50. "However," Marcus continued, "I believe in your case. And I believe you got screwed over in the worst possible way. So here's what I'm willing to do. I'll take your case on contingency for the divorce and custody portion. You don't pay unless we win. But the intellectual property theft, that's a different beast. We'd need to prove you created that software, and without your original files." "He took everything," I whispered. "My computer, my hard drives, all my notes." "Did you email yourself any drafts? Text anyone about it? Post about it on social media? Anything with a timestamp that proves you were working on this before Travis presented it?" I thought hard, scrolling through my memory. Then it hit me. Janelle. I sent Janelle screenshots last month when I was excited about a breakthrough. And my brother, I FaceTimed him in February showing him the prototype, asking if the interface was user-friendly. And there might be cloud backups. I used Google Drive for some early drafts before I moved everything local. Marcus leaned forward. "Now we're talking. Get me everything you can find. Every email, every text, every screenshot, every cloud file. We build a timeline that proves this was your work, and we don't just fight the divorce. We go after him for theft, fraud, and emotional distress." For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than despair. I felt anger. And anger, girl, anger can be fuel. "But Marcus," I said carefully, "even if we prove all that, it could take years. I have rent due in 2 weeks. I need to survive now." "You're a software engineer, right? Can you freelance? With a 3-week-old baby? I can barely shower." "Then we get creative." He pulled out a notepad. "You need immediate income. What can you do from home, on your own schedule, that uses your skills?" That question changed everything. That night, after Zara finally fell asleep around 11 p.m., I sat down with my old laptop and took inventory of what I actually had. One laptop, slow, outdated, but functional. Internet connection for now, until the bill came due. 10 years of software engineering experience. A brain that had just created revolutionary technology. And most importantly, pure, unfiltered motivation to prove Travis wrong. I started with the basics. I created profiles on every freelancing platform I could find. Upwork, Fiverr, Freelancer, TopTal. My rates were rock bottom because I needed work immediately. $25 an hour when I used to make $120,000 a year. It hurt my pride, but pride doesn't pay rent. The first job I landed was fixing someone's broken WordPress site. Paid $150. It took me 3 days because I had to work in 20-minute chunks between Zara's feeding schedule. I finished it at 4 a.m., submitted it with bloodshot eyes, and cried when the payment cleared. $150. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Money I'd earned. Proof I could do this. I took every job I could get. Website fixes, basic app development, debugging code, data analysis, anything. And everything. I worked while Zara napped. I worked while she slept at night. I worked with her strapped to my chest, my fingers flying across the keyboard while she dozed. Some nights, I'd only get 2 hours of sleep. I was exhausted, running on coffee and determination, but I was making money. Not a lot, but enough. By the end of my first month freelancing, I'd made $1,800. Barely enough to cover rent, but I'd covered it. Janelle would come by and find me at my laptop, Zara sleeping in her bassinet next to me, and she'd just shake her head. Girl, when do you sleep? When Zara sleeps. That's not enough. You're going to burn out. I don't have the luxury of burning out, Jay. I burn out. We end up on the street. But she was right. By the end of month 2, I was barely functional. My milk supply was dropping because I wasn't eating or sleeping enough. I'd fallen asleep holding Zara twice, woke up terrified that something had happened to her. This wasn't sustainable. That's when I had the realization that changed everything. I was working on a project for a client, building a custom inventory management system for their small retail business. Basic stuff, nothing revolutionary. But while I was coding, I realized something. There were thousands of small businesses that needed exactly this kind of custom software, but they couldn't afford to hire a full development team or pay Silicon Valley prices. What if I created templates? Pre-built solutions that I could customize quickly for different clients? I'd do the heavy lifting once, then modify and deploy for multiple customers. Scale without trading time for money. Have you ever had a moment where everything just clicks? Where you see the path forward so clearly it's like someone turned on a light in a dark room? Comment below if you know what I'm talking about, because this moment was the beginning of everything. I spent the next 2 weeks, every spare minute I had, building my first template. It was an inventory management system, clean and simple, that could work for retail stores, restaurants, warehouses, basically any business that needed to track stock. Then I built an appointment scheduling system. Then a basic customer relationship management tool. Then an invoicing system. 5 templates total, each one solving a real problem small businesses had. I created a simple website, nothing fancy, just clean and professional, and listed my templates. $500 each for the base system, $200 an hour for customization. Still cheaper than hiring a development firm, but way more profitable for me than freelancing at $25 an hour. The first sale came 3 days after I launched the site. A bakery in Oregon needed the inventory system. The owner, this sweet older woman named Patricia, called me directly. Honey, I found your site and I think this might be exactly what I need, she said. But I'm not very good with computers. Can you help me set it up? Absolutely. The base system is $500 and I estimate about 4 hours of customization for your specific needs. So $1,300 total. She agreed immediately. $1,300. For work I'd already mostly done. I customized her system, taught her how to use it, and 3 days later, she left me a glowing review on my website. Then something magical happened. Patricia told her friend, who owned a flower shop, who told her brother, who ran a small construction company, who told his wife, who managed a boutique hotel. Word of mouth, girl. The most powerful marketing tool in existence. By month 3, I had 8 clients. By month 4, I had 23. I was making more money than I had as a senior software engineer at Nextech, working from my living room in sweatpants with spit up in my hair. I hired a virtual assistant to handle customer service emails. Then a part-time developer in the Philippines to help with customization work. I was building a business, not just freelancing. And every dollar I made felt like victory. But the best part? I was being the mom I wanted to be. Zara's first smile, her first laugh, her first time rolling over. I was there for all of it. Not missing moments because I was stuck in an office. Building my empire and raising my daughter at the same time. If you're a parent trying to build something while raising kids, or if you've ever had to choose between your career and your family, I see you. Drop a comment and tell me your story, because this journey is about all of us who refuse to choose between success and the people we love. Meanwhile, the legal battle with Travis was heating up. Marcus had gathered all my evidence, the screenshots I'd sent Janelle, the FaceTime video with my brother, cloud backups I'd forgotten about that showed file creation dates. We had a timeline proving I'd developed that software. Travis's lawyers tried everything to discredit me. They claimed I was an unfit mother because I was working too much. They said my home office was proof I was neglecting Zara. They even tried to argue that any work I did while employed by Nextech belonged to the company. Therefore, Travis had every right to present it. The custody hearing was scheduled for when Zara was 4 months old. I walked into that courtroom wearing my best dress, the only professional outfit I owned that still fit after pregnancy, with my evidence binder organized by date, my testimony prepared, and my game face on. Travis was there with his new lawyer, some hotshot from San Francisco, who probably cost more per hour than I used to make in a week. And next to him was Catherine, the COO, now his fiancée apparently. She had the audacity to smile at me like she'd won. I smiled back. Because unlike 4 months ago, I wasn't broken anymore. I was building something. And I had receipts. Marcus presented our evidence systematically. Every screenshot, every timestamp, every piece of proof that I'd created that software. He showed the court that Travis had access to all my files, that he'd deliberately waited until I was in labor to file for divorce, that he'd cleaned out our accounts and tried to leave me destitute. Your Honor, Marcus said, this isn't just a divorce case. This is a case of calculated theft, emotional abuse, and a man trying to erase his wife's contributions so completely that even their own daughter would grow up thinking her mother was nothing. Travis's lawyer argued that I was bitter about the divorce and making up stories, that there was no proof Travis had stolen anything, that maybe we'd worked on it together and I was misremembering, that my current instability, meaning my entrepreneurship, proved I was unfit for full custody. The judge, this older black woman named Judge Richardson, listened to everything, reviewed every document, asked pointed questions that made Travis's lawyer sweat. Finally, she made her ruling. I find the evidence compelling that Ms. Martinez created the software in question. However, intellectual property theft is not within this court's jurisdiction. That would need to be pursued separately. As for custody, I see no evidence of unfitness. Petition for full custody denied. Joint custody granted, with primary residence with the mother. Mr. Martinez, you will pay child support in accordance with your income as CEO, which I calculate to be $4,500 per month. You will also be responsible for half of all child care and medical expenses. I could have collapsed with relief. I'd won. Not everything, but enough. Zara was staying with me. But Judge Richardson wasn't done. She looked directly at Travis, her expression cold. Mr. Martinez, I've presided over many divorce cases in my career, but rarely have I seen such calculated cruelty as what you've displayed here. Serving divorce papers to your wife while she recovered from childbirth? Draining joint accounts? Filing false accusations? The law limits what I can do to address that behavior, but I want you to know I see exactly what kind of man you are, and I suspect, eventually, everyone else will too. Travis's face went red. Catherine grabbed his hand like she was comforting him. I just gathered my papers, and walked out with my head high. For months ago, that man had destroyed my world. Today, I'd just proven I was rising from those ashes. The custody victory gave me something I hadn't had in months: confidence. Real, solid, this is who I'm. Confidence. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was winning. My template business was growing faster than I could keep up with. I'd hired 3 more developers, 2 more virtual assistants, and was getting inquiries from bigger companies wanting custom solutions. The little business I'd started out of desperation was becoming something real. 6 months after Travis left, I moved out of our old apartment. Too many bad memories, and into a smaller, but brighter place in a better neighborhood for Zara. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Every piece of furniture I bought with my own money felt like a trophy. I started going to therapy, working through the betrayal and the trauma. My therapist helped me understand that what Travis did wasn't about me not being enough. It was about his own emptiness, his need to take instead of build, his inability to succeed without tearing someone else down. And slowly, month by month, I was healing. One night, 7 months post-divorce, I was working late on a particularly complex project when I got an email. The subject line made my heart stop. Investment opportunity. The email was from a venture capital firm in San Francisco. They'd heard about my business through one of their portfolio companies that I'd built a system for. They wanted to meet. I read that email 3 times, convinced it was spam or a mistake. But I called the number listed and a real person answered. A real partner at a real VC firm who is really interested in investing in my company. "We love what you're building," he told me. "Small business software solutions, affordable pricing, quality. Work. There's a massive market for this. We'd like to discuss a $2 million Series A investment in exchange for 20% equity." $2 million. For the business I'd built in my living room while feeding a baby and healing from the worst betrayal of my life. I told them I'd think about it. Then I called Janelle, screaming into the phone. "Girl, breathe," she laughed. "What happened?" "Jay, someone wants to give me $2 million for my business."
"What? Keisha?"
"Oh my God. You did it. You really did it." We stayed on the phone for an hour, laughing and crying and planning. Because this was it, the moment. Everything changed. Not just surviving, not just getting by. Real success. The kind Travis thought only he
deserved.
I met with the VC firm 2 weeks later. Zara came with me, strapped to my chest in her carrier, because I couldn't get a sitter, and I refused to miss this meeting. If they couldn't handle a baby at the table, they weren't the right partners for me. They didn't mind. In fact, one of the partners was a mom herself and spent half the meeting making faces at Zara while we talked terms. We negotiated for 3 weeks. I got them up to $2.5 million for 18% equity. And on a Tuesday afternoon, exactly 8 months after Travis had served me divorce papers in that hospital bed, I signed the deal that would change my life forever. Y'all, if you've ever bet on yourself when everyone else counted you out, if you've ever built something from nothing because you had no other choice, share your story in the comments. Because these stories matter. They remind us that rock bottom can be a foundation. I walked out of that signing meeting with a check for $2.5 million, a daughter babbling happily against my chest, and the knowledge that I'd done this. Not Travis. Not anyone else.
Me.
The girl who'd been fired, divorced, and left for dead had just become a millionaire. But honey, this story isn't over. Because karma? Karma was just getting started with Travis Martinez. And part 3 is where you get to see everything he built on lies come crashing down. If you're invested in seeing Travis get exactly what he deserves, hit that like button and subscribe because part 3 is going to be so satisfying. Trust me. Girl, so there I was, millionaire at 36, raising my daughter, running a successful business when I got the phone call that made me realize karma doesn't just exist, it's got a sense of humor. My ex-husband's company was collapsing, and guess who they blamed? The same software he stole from me. Grab your tea because this is where everything Travis built on my back came crashing down, and I had the best seat in the house to watch it burn. That $2.5 million investment changed everything overnight. I moved my business out of my living room and into a real office space in Palo Alto. Nothing crazy, just 2,000 square feet with room for my growing team.
I
Hired 10 full-time developers, a proper sales team, a marketing person, and finally, I could afford quality childcare for Zara. Not because I wanted to be away from her, but because running a real company meant I needed to be fully present during work hours, and she deserved a mama who wasn't exhausted 24/7. By the time she turned 1 year old, my baby girl was thriving in a beautiful daycare with other kids, learning and playing, while I was building an empire. And every night, I'd pick her up and we'd go home to our new townhouse. 3 bedrooms, a backyard in a neighborhood with good schools. Everything Travis said I couldn't provide for her, I was providing, and then some. The business exploded. That investment let me scale fast. We weren't just doing small business templates anymore, we were building custom enterprise solutions. Mid-sized companies that couldn't afford the big consulting firms but needed real software were our sweet spot. My reputation grew. Keisha Martinez builds software that actually works became our unofficial slogan. By month 10 post-investment, we were profitable. By month 14, we were getting acquisition offers. Companies wanted to buy us out, merge with us, partner with us. I turned them all down because this was mine, and I wasn't giving up control to anyone ever again.
If
you've ever had to protect something you built from people who want to take it from you, you know exactly why I said no to every offer. Drop a comment if you've had to fight to keep what's yours. Meanwhile, Travis was living his best life.
or so it seemed.
I didn't follow him on social media, that man didn't deserve space in my mental energy, but word got back to me through industry connections. He and Catherine had gotten engaged 6 months after our divorce was finalized. They were the it couple of Silicon Valley for a hot minute. Magazine interviews about their power partnership, speaking engagements at tech conferences, photos at charity galas. He was playing the role of visionary CEO while Catherine handled operations as COO. They looked untouchable. But I knew something they didn't. I knew that software he'd stolen from me wasn't complete. See, when Travis took my files, he got about 85% of the system. The prototype, the core functionality, the impressive stuff that would win overboard. What he didn't get were my notes about the critical vulnerabilities I'd identified.
The
scaling problems I hadn't solved yet. The security gaps I was still working through. I'd been planning to spend another 2 months refining everything before presenting it. Travis had presented it immediately, probably didn't even understand half of what he was showing, and Nextech had rushed it to market without proper testing because they were desperate, and he was convincing. That software was a time bomb, and I knew it. I just didn't know when it would explode. Turns out I didn't have to wait long. 18 months after Travis stole my work, the cracks started showing. It started with small things, customers complaining about glitches, data processing errors, system crashes during high traffic. Nextech's support team was overwhelmed. Their client retention started dropping. Companies that had signed big contracts were threatening to leave. And Travis, who didn't actually understand the code because he hadn't written it, couldn't fix the problems. He'd throw his development team at it, they'd patch one issue, and 3 more would pop up. It was like watching someone try to hold together a house of cards in a windstorm. I heard about it through the industry grapevine first. Then I saw it in tech blogs. Nextech's revolutionary software facing performance issues. Major clients reconsidering Nextech contracts. Stock price drops 15% amid technical difficulties. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a little satisfaction reading those headlines. Not because I wanted the company to fail. There were good people who worked there who had nothing to do with what Travis did to me, but because the truth was finally coming out. That software wasn't ready, and Travis had been too arrogant and too ignorant to know it. Then came the security breach. 2 years after my divorce, Nextech made headlines for all the wrong reasons. Their system got hacked, and customer data for over 200 companies was compromised. Financial information, trade secrets, proprietary data, all exposed. It was every tech company's nightmare, and it happened because of the exact vulnerability I'd identified in my notes. The vulnerability Travis never knew existed because he'd stolen the work before I could document the fix. The lawsuits came fast and brutal. Companies suing for damages, shareholders filing class action suits, regulatory investigations from multiple agencies. Nextech's stock price didn't just drop, it cratered. They lost 60% of their value in 2 weeks. And the board? The board started asking questions. Who developed this software? How was it tested? Why weren't these vulnerabilities caught before launch? Travis tried to deflect, blame his development team, claim it was an unforeseeable attack. But tech people talk, girl. And some of those developers he was trying to throw under the bus knew the truth about where that software really came from. One of them, this young brother named DeMarco who'd been on my old team, he reached out to me directly. The message just said, "Keisha, they're trying to bury this, but I know what Travis did to you. If you want justice, call me. I have proof." I met DeMarco at a coffee shop in Mountain View. He brought his laptop and showed me everything. Emails, where Travis had asked the team to work on his software but couldn't answer basic questions about the architecture. Slack messages where developers privately questioned how Travis had suddenly become a coding genius. Git commit logs that showed Travis had uploaded all the core code in one massive dump, not the gradual development you'd see if someone actually built it themselves. And most damning, DeMarco had kept copies of my original files from the shared drive before they were deleted. Files with my username, my coding style, my comments in the code. Files that proved beyond any doubt that I'd created that software. "Why are you giving me this?" I asked him. "You could lose your job." He looked me dead in the eye and said, "Because what he did to you is wrong. And because that software is failing because he didn't understand it well enough to maintain it. People are losing their jobs because of his ego and his lies. You deserve credit for your work, and honestly, you probably deserve to watch him fall." I took every file he gave me, backed them up in 3 different places. And then I called Marcus, my lawyer, and said, "Remember that intellectual property case we talked about? It's time." We filed the lawsuit 3 weeks later. Keisha Martinez versus Travis Martinez and Nextech Solutions for intellectual property theft, fraud, and breach of fiduciary duty. We weren't asking for damages, we were asking for something better. We wanted public acknowledgement that I'd created that software, we wanted my name on the patents, and we wanted a share of the profits that software had generated before it started failing. The lawsuit made headlines immediately. Former Nextech engineer claims CEO stole her software.
New
evidence suggests Nextech's flagship product was stolen from developer's wife. Silicon Valley Power. Couple faces explosive theft allegations. I gave one interview, just one, to a tech journalist who'd been following the story. I sat in my office, Zara playing with blocks in the corner, and I told my truth calmly and
clearly.
No tears, no emotion, just facts. I showed the timestamps, the evidence, the pattern of abuse. I explained how Travis had stolen my work while I was pregnant, presented it while I was in labor, and tried to destroy me when I had nothing. The interview went viral. Millions of views in 48 hours. The response was overwhelming. Women sharing their own stories of having their work stolen, their ideas claimed by male colleagues, their contributions erased.
Men
in tech stepping up to say they'd witnessed this kind of theft and stayed silent. Former Nextech employees confirming that Travis couldn't answer technical questions about his revolutionary software. The court of public opinion turned against Travis so fast and so hard that sponsors started dropping Nextech, partners started backing away, and the board finally had to take action. Have you ever watched someone who hurt you finally face consequences? Not because you destroyed them, but because their own actions caught up to them? Comment below because that feeling of vindication, it's something else. Next Tech put Travis on administrative leave while they investigated the allegations.
Catherine
Tried to hold things together as acting CEO, but she was tied to him now. Their engagement had become a liability. Clients didn't want to work with a company embroiled in scandal. Employees were jumping ship.
and
The lawsuits from the data breach were still piling up. The board brought in an independent investigator to review everything. They interviewed developers, examined the code, reviewed the timeline. 6 weeks later, the investigator's report was leaked to the press. The conclusion was damning. The evidence strongly suggests that the next core processing system was developed by Keisha Martinez during her maternity leave and subsequently presented by Travis Martinez as his own
work.
The timeline, coding style, and technical knowledge required all point to Mrs. Martinez as the original creator. Nextech's board had no choice. They fired Travis. Terminated for cause, which meant no golden parachute, no severance package, nothing. They also accepted the resignation of Catherine Whitmore, though everyone knew she'd been forced out. The company released a public statement acknowledging my role in developing their core software and offering a settlement. Marcus negotiated hard. We got $12 million, my name on the patents, and a public apology. $12 million for the work Travis had stolen. The work that had made him CEO. The work that had been my resurrection. I didn't celebrate when the settlement cleared. I just deposited the check, updated Zara's trust fund, and got back to work. Because here's what I learned, girl. The best revenge isn't making someone pay. It's building something so successful that their betrayal becomes just a footnote in your story. Travis thought stealing my work would make him great. All it did was prove he was never great to begin with. He was just a thief who got caught. But the story doesn't end there. Because Travis's fall? That was just the beginning. By year 3 post-divorce, everything he'd built on lies was gone, and everything I'd built on truth was thriving. And honey, part 4 is where you see just how high I climbed and just how low he fell. If you're ready to see the final chapter of this journey, make sure you're subscribed because part 4 is coming, and it's going to leave you feeling like justice is possible. So picture this. 4 years after my husband left me broke in a hospital bed, I'm standing in my corner office on the 15th floor overlooking San Francisco Bay, and my assistant buzzes to tell me Travis Martinez is in the lobby, asking to see me. Girl, I want you to understand something. This is not a revenge story. This is a resurrection
story.
And part 4 is where you see what happens when you choose to rise instead of seeking revenge.
Get
comfortable, because this ending is everything. That $12 million settlement from Nextech wasn't the end of my journey. It was fuel. I took that money and expanded my company aggressively. We rebranded from Martina Solutions to Zara Tech, named after my daughter, the reminder of why I fought so hard. We weren't just building custom software anymore. We were creating an entire suite of business tools specifically designed for small and medium-sized companies that the big tech giants ignored. Affordable, scalable, actually user-friendly software that didn't require a computer science degree to operate. By year 3, we had 150 employees. By year 4, 350. We had offices in San Francisco, Atlanta, and Austin. Our annual revenue hit $50 million, then $75 million, then crossed $100 million. I went from being a woman who couldn't afford rent to being a CEO with a company valued at over $200 million. Forbes did a feature on me, from hospital bed to boardroom, how Keisha Martinez built a tech empire after losing everything. That article opened doors I didn't even know existed. Speaking engagements at major conferences, invitations to join corporate boards, interviews with major media outlets. I became the face of Black women in tech who refused to be erased. And Zara, my baby girl, was thriving. She was 4 years old now, smart as a whip, funny, confident.
She'd
come to the office sometimes after daycare, and my employees loved her. She'd sit in my office coloring while I took calls, completely unbothered by the chaos around her. Sometimes I'd look at her and think about how Travis had tried to take her from me, had claimed I couldn't provide for her. This little girl had a trust fund worth millions, a mama who owned her own company, and a future so bright it hurt to look at directly. Everything he said I couldn't do, I'd done. Everything he said I couldn't be, I'd become. I dated sometimes, nothing serious, just reminders that I was still a woman with needs and desires outside of being a mom and a CEO. But I was careful, protective of my peace, protective of my daughter, protective of what I'd built. No man was getting close to me unless he understood that I didn't need him. I wanted him. There's a difference, and if you've been through what I've been through, you know exactly what I mean. Drop a comment if you understand the difference between needing and wanting, because that shift in mindset, that's power. I hadn't seen or heard from Travis in over 2 years. After he got fired from Next Tech, he disappeared from the tech scene completely. No LinkedIn updates, no conference appearances, no nothing. Catherine left him 6 months after they both got fired. Turns out when the money and power are gone, so is the loyalty. Shocking, right? I heard through mutual connections that she'd moved to New York and married some finance guy. Travis had burned through whatever savings he had trying to start another company that failed before it launched. Then another. Nobody wanted to invest in the man who'd stolen his wife's work and tanked a multi-billion-dollar company. His reputation in Silicon Valley was destroyed. I didn't keep tabs on him intentionally. I was too busy building, but information has a way of finding you. People would mention seeing him at networking events, looking desperate, trying to pitch ideas that went nowhere. Someone told me he'd moved into a small apartment in Fremont, was doing contract work for startups. Basically back to where he'd started before we met. The karma of it all was almost poetic. Then came the day my assistant told me he was in the lobby for years and 2 months after he'd served me divorce papers in that hospital. I told her to make him wait 30 minutes, not to be petty, but because I was in the middle of a meeting with investors who were discussing a potential Series C funding round that would value my company at $500 million. When that meeting ended, and I'd shaken hands with people who wanted to give me $50 million, I freshened up my lipstick, straightened my blazer, and told my assistant to send him up. Travis walked into my office, looking like a shell of the man I'd married. The expensive suits were gone. He was wearing khakis and a button-down that had seen better days. He'd lost weight, had gray in his beard that wasn't there before, and his eyes had this defeated look that almost made me feel sorry for him. Almost. He stood in the doorway of my corner office. All glass and modern furniture, and a view that cost more per month than our old apartment, and I watched him take it all in. The success, the space, the evidence that I'd won. "Keisha," he said, his voice rough. "Thank you for seeing me." I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Didn't offer him water, didn't smile, didn't make small talk. Just waited. He sat down looking everywhere, but at me at first. Finally, he met my eyes. "I know I have no right to be here. I know what I did to you was unforgivable. I've spent the last 2 years watching you build this incredible company while my life fell apart, and I needed to say I'm sorry." I leaned back in my chair, studying him. "You needed to say you're sorry? Or you need something from me?" His jaw tightened. "Both. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm broke, Keisha. I can't find decent work because nobody in tech will touch me. I'm 3 months behind on rent. My car got repossessed. I'm paying child support that I can barely afford." "Good," I interrupted. "You should be paying it. That's your daughter." I know. And I do. I pay it every month even when it means I don't eat. But I'm drowning here. And I thought maybe you could help me. A job, just something entry level. I'm a good coder, you know. That I could work in your development department, something behind the scenes where I wouldn't be client facing. I just need a chance, Keisha. Please. I let the silence stretch out between us. Let him sit there, desperate and broke, asking the woman he'd destroyed
For mercy.
And you know what I felt? Not satisfaction. Not anger. Just nothing. He didn't have power over me anymore. Not my emotions, not my future, not anything. He was just a man who'd made terrible choices and was living with the consequences. Do you know what you took from me, Travis? I asked quietly. Not just the software. Not just the money, or the job, or even our marriage. You took my trust. You took my belief that the person sleeping next to me every night had my back. You made me doubt myself, doubt my worth, doubt my ability to be a good mother.
You
served me divorce papers the day after I gave birth to our daughter. You tried to take Zara from me when I had nothing. You didn't just betray me, you tried to erase me. He nodded, tears in his eyes. I know. God, Keisha, I know. I was awful. I was ambitious and selfish, and I convinced myself that I deserved that promotion more than you did, that I'd worked harder, that you'd be fine. Because you were smart enough to land on your feet. I didn't think about what it would do to you. I didn't think
about Zara.
I just thought about myself. You're right, I said. You didn't think. And now you want me to save you from the consequences of your choices? He wiped his eyes. I know I don't deserve it. But I'm begging you. I have nowhere else to go. Everyone else has written me off. You're my last hope. I stood up, walked to my window, looked out at the bay. Thought about that woman 4 years ago, broken and terrified in a hospital bed. Thought about every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, every time I wanted to give up but kept going for Zara. Thought about building this company from nothing, proving every person wrong who underestimated me. Then I turned back to Travis.
No.
His face crumpled. Keisha, please. No. I repeated firmly. I'm not giving you a job. I'm not giving you money. I'm not saving you. You know why? Because you need to save yourself. You need to sit in the consequences of what you did and figure out who you want to be. I didn't get here because someone rescued me, Travis. I got here because I rescued myself. And that's what you need to do. He stood up, angry now. So that's it? You're just going to let me end up on the street? You have all this, he gestured around the office. And you can't spare anything to help the father of your child? I walked closer to him and he actually took a step back.
Good.
He should be uncomfortable. The father of my child pays his child support and shows up for his custody days. That's you doing the bare minimum of what you're supposed to
do.
You don't get a medal for that, and you don't get a safety net from me. You made choices, Travis. You chose
to steal from me.
You chose to betray me. You chose to try to destroy me. And now you're choosing to come here and ask me to erase the consequences of those choices. I won't do it. So you're just going to watch me lose everything? I smiled, and it wasn't kind. You already lost everything that mattered. Your integrity, your reputation, your family. The money and the job were just symbols of things you never really had. And honestly, I'm not watching you at all. I'm too busy building my empire, raising our daughter, and living my best life. What happens to you is not my concern anymore. He stared at me for a long moment, then laughed bitterly. You've become cold, Keisha. Success made you heartless. I shook my head.
No, Travis.
Betrayal taught me boundaries. There's a difference. Now I have another meeting in 5 minutes, so I need you to leave. My security team will escort you out. As if on cue, my assistant appeared in the doorway with 2 security guards. Travis looked between them and me, realized this was really happening, and his shoulders slumped in defeat. I really am sorry, he said quietly. For whatever that's worth. I nodded. I believe you're sorry you got caught. I believe you're sorry you're facing consequences. But sorry you hurt me? Sorry you betrayed your wife and tried to take your daughter?
I
don't think you have the capacity for that kind of sorry. Security escorted him out. I watched through my glass walls as they walked him to the elevator, saw him slump against the wall as the doors closed. And then I sat back down at my desk and went back to work. Because I had a company to run, a daughter to pick up from school, and a future so bright I needed sunglasses. That night, I picked up Zara from her after-school program. She ran to me like she always did, throwing her little arms around my legs, chattering about her day. "Mama, I made you a picture? It's you and me and we're superheroes." I knelt down to her level, looked at her beautiful drawing of the two of us with capes. "Baby, you know what? We are superheroes. We survived something really hard, and we came out stronger." She didn't understand what I meant. She was only 4, but she would someday. Someday, I'd tell her this
Story.
I'd tell her about how her father made terrible choices, but how her mama refused to let those choices define her future. I'd tell her that being knocked down isn't the end. It's just the middle. The end is what you build after you get back up. 6 months after Travis came to my office, Zara Tech secured that Series C funding. $75 million at a $600 million valuation. I owned 65% of the company, which meant on paper, I was worth $390 million. Not bad for a woman who started with $200 and a dream. We expanded into AI-driven business solutions, got contracts with Fortune 500 companies, became one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. I hired aggressively. From overlooked talent pools, women, people of color, people without traditional tech backgrounds but with brilliant minds. I built the kind of company I wish had existed when I needed it. I bought a house in Piedmont, 5 bedrooms, a pool, a home office that was basically a tech wonderland. Hired a housekeeper, a personal assistant, got myself a financial advisor and an accountant. Set up college funds. Not just for Zara, but for my nieces and nephews. Paid off my parents' mortgage in Atlanta. Started a scholarship fund for single mothers pursuing STEM degrees. Used my success to lift up other people the way I wished someone had lifted me. And Travis? I heard he eventually found work doing basic web development for a small company in Sacramento. Moved there to start over where people didn't know his story. He sees Zara every other weekend, like the custody agreement mandates, and to his credit, he shows up. He's not a great father. He doesn't really know how to connect with her, but he's present. That's all I require from him. Catherine reached out once, about a year after everything fell apart. Sent me a message on LinkedIn saying she was sorry for her part in what happened, that she'd been wrong to get involved with a married man, that she hoped I could forgive her someday. I never responded, not because I was holding a grudge, but because she wasn't important enough to me to hold anything. She existed in my past, and I was too busy building my future to spend time there. 5 years after Travis served me those divorce papers in that hospital room, I stood on a stage at a tech conference giving the keynote speech. The topic was resilience in tech, building after betrayal. I told my story, not all the details, but enough. I talked about losing everything, about starting over with nothing, about choosing to build instead of seeking revenge. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Women came up to me afterward with tears in their eyes, telling me their own stories of being overlooked, stolen from, erased.
We
Cried together, exchanged numbers, built networks. That conference turned into a movement, women in tech, supporting each other, refusing to let anyone steal our shine ever again. I'm 40 now. Zara is 9 years old, smart and strong and completely unaware of how close we came to losing everything. She goes to private school, takes coding classes for fun, wants to be a marine biologist when she grows up. I'm teaching her that she can be anything, do anything, build anything, and that if someone tries to take it from her, she has the power to build it again, bigger and better. My company is valued at over $1 billion now. We're considering going public next year. I've been approached about writing a book, starting a podcast, launching a venture capital firm focused on women-led startups.
The
Opportunities are endless, and all of them excite me. But more than any of that, I'm proud of the woman I became through this. Not despite the betrayal, because of it. Travis thought he was destroying me.
He was.
Actually forging me into someone unstoppable. That I saw him one more time, about 6 months ago. I was having lunch at a restaurant in downtown San Francisco. With Zara, just a mama-daughter date, and I saw him walking past the window. He looked better than he had in my office that day. Not successful, but stable. Like he'd found his footing in a smaller, quieter life. He didn't see us. I didn't call out to him. I just watched him walk away, this man who used to be my whole world and was now just a stranger I used to know. Zara asked what I was looking at, and I said, "Nothing, baby. Just remembering how far we've come." She smiled and went back to her pasta, completely unaware that her father, the man who tried to take everything from us, had just walked right past our happiness without even knowing it was there. If you've made it to the end of this story, I want to say thank you. Thank you for listening, for caring, for being invested in my journey. If you're going through your own betrayal right now, your own rock bottom moment, I want you to hear this. It gets better. Not immediately, not easily, but it gets better. You are not defined by what was taken from you. You are defined by what you build after. Comment below and tell me your story, because I promise you someone needs to hear it. Someone is in their hospital bed right now, holding their baby, reading divorce papers, thinking it's over. Show them it's not. Show them the comeback is always stronger than the
Setback.
And if you found value in my story, if it inspired you or helped you or just entertained you for a few minutes, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Share it with someone who needs to hear that they can rise from anything. Because that's what we do, we rise. Not because we're special or superhuman, but because we're survivors. And survival is the foundation of every great success story. My name is Keisha Martinez. I'm 40 years old, and I built a billion-dollar company from a hospital bed, a laptop, and the refusal to stay down. This was my story. What's yours?